back to the Maine Art Spirit Studio, and today we're going to work with the kindergarten on making piggy banks. Now these piggy banks we've already started. This will be the second step or the second part that goes along with the first video. And so far we have taken a balloon, we've blown it up, and we've covered it with 3 layers. It's very important that you have 3 layers of paper mache, and the paper that we're using is newspaper, the comic strip in the newspaper, and the comics are a whole lot thicker than regular newsprint, so make sure you use the colored newsprint from newspaper. This is what we're using here. We're cutting them up into 1-inch strips, and we're going to do that again today. But this time, as you can see, when all of this dries, it becomes an excellent surface to paint on. And so I'm very excited to be painting on this, but before we get to that part, we're going to put the eyes, nose, and mouth, and the feet. All of that's going to go on today, and we'll see what happens. We're really excited. It'll actually look more like a pig after this video. So come join me today, and we'll see what we can do. All right, today you can actually see that I have 2 balloons. One of these has only 1 layer, and you can see how flimsy it is. It does have a hole here and one here, and I shudder to think what's going to happen once I actually pop the balloon. And it looks like the balloon may have already popped. So that would be what we need to do next, is to, this has 3 layers, which is a whole lot more covered and much better. I know that the beginning of part of the balloon that actually blows up, that you put to your lips and blow up to your mouth, is on this end, and that this rounder one is the other end of it. So I'm going to very carefully make sure your hands are always away from the knife. I'm going to cut with my carving knife flap, and I'm going to pull back the flap to reveal right there, I can see it, the end of the balloon. And then I'm going to pull the balloon. Now, if you people who think that the balloon is going to just go bang, they hardly ever do, because the glue is actually holding the balloon on the outside edge. So I'm going to put a little hole here, and it's really kind of cool. It kind of crinkles as it's beginning to shrink, and I'm very gently pulling the balloon out. You do not want the balloon in there. Sometimes I put another hole, and we'll pull the whole balloon out. You can throw that away. And you can see I have a very, very solid shape. So that would be a real step. Let's see what happened with this one. And it's very tempting to do this with just 1 layer. So I'm going to show you what happens when the balloon, and this balloon looks like has already popped. Yeah, it's sitting on the bottom. As I'm looking in there, I can see. And actually, this balloon has not completely popped. So there's a couple of problems with this one that I wanted to talk about. I just popped the balloon, I don't know if you heard it. But what had happened is this was only tied once, not twice. And you want to always tie your balloon 3 times so that the air doesn't come out. And because it was only tied once, the air was actually able to escape, and it shrunk here. And you've got this very flimsy kind of thing. So if you put any kind of water on this and start putting more paper mache on this dry balloon shape without the balloon supporting it with air, the whole thing will collapse. So it's very important you put 3 layers in. So we're not going to go with this one, and this one will probably end up collapsing if I ever try to put anything else on that. The other thing you can do, when you do have a collapse, you still can rescue it by taking a long brush and pushing from the inside out. Now you're going to have a hole here, and I have a smaller hole here. So I'm going to put this one aside now. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the mouth or the nose of the pig right there. And then we're going to use these wonderful egg shape that you get at Easter time, right around that time. The Easter Bunny might have left you some of these. And we can reuse these instead of throwing them out. I thought that would be a really good thing to do. So first of all, we're going to mix again our paper mache. Now this is wallpaper paste, and you just want to pretty much coat the top of it. Now you want to make a thicker version of this than you did when you first started, because you don't want to have a lot of water to collapse your paper mache ball. So this is what we're going to call the paper mache egg, or the ball, and we're just going to break up all of these parts. Now it would be best if it were warm water, better for you and better for the mixture. And for some reason I have cold water in here, and what it does is it bunches up. So a little warm water will actually work a little better. And then we have this wonderful glue mixture that's safe to the hands. It's really not a bad product at all. I use a Sure Grip all-purpose adhesive wall size, and it's not bad at all. But if you do have any kind of allergic reaction or an allergy toward skin reactions to different glues and things, I would just use gloves, and that would be perfectly fine. Okay, so we have our glue set up, and the next thing we're going to do is get our glue gun. So I'm going to glue gun my shapes down, and this is where you might need some help from an adult, because you want to be really careful not to get any glue on your hands. And you're going to put a very light bead of glue. You know, there's no shame getting some adult help here and some adult supervision. This would be, I would feel awful if anybody got hurt. And when this stuff burns and gets on you, it just keeps burning. It's worse than wax on your skin. So just be really, really careful, because there's only one temperature when it comes to glue, a hot glue gun, and that's too hot. It's just way too hot all the time. So this is one of my feet. I'm going to put a foot here. This is my nose right here. And then I'm going to take another one. Now if you have several of these, try to get them all around the same size. I put a couple of these in your bag. And it looks like, I'm going to take this one off because it looks like this is smaller. And this is just temporary. Yeah, this one was meant for the nose. So I'm going to cover the hole, and then I'm going to re-glue this, because I think this was a bigger one. We'll use the bigger one for this right here. So there's the two front legs. And we'll do the two back legs. Just like that. Now this is still a temporary art form, so you're going to have to cover this with paper mache in order for it to be more permanent and not fall apart, because all of this stuff, as you can see, can just pull right off. And he stands up pretty good. Or she, however you want the gender to be. And the tail will be right here. The other thing you can use for, if you don't have, for the nose and for the legs, and we're going to do the ears as well, that works really well if you don't have these eggs, is egg cartons. They actually make wonderful feet right here. You can actually cut all four, and they're in a small section to actually be all 4 feet. And you can cut one of these out and make them the nose as well, and they're kind of like a pig nose as well. So that works pretty good. So I'm going to cut, these right out. They're very easy to cut. That's the other thing I like about them. If you don't want to use a knife, you may also use scissors. So scissors, here's a small pair right here, student pair. And what you're going to want to do for the ears, I'm going to use these for the ears, is you're going to want to cut right down through the center of these. And they make these really wonderful ear shapes. So I'm going to do that. Trim them up like that. And then trim the other one like that. So you have two shapes. It looks like that one's bigger, so I think I'm going to cut another one out. So you're just basically cutting right down through here. And it's also really good to be recycling some of this stuff as well. And it looks like that didn't work. Yeah, like that. You want to cut a little bit into the other one. And I think what I want is this part right in here. So I have two that are approximately the same size. Approximately, they don't have to be perfect. And you can do a lot of different things with your ears. You can even make it floppy. You can do all kinds of ears. But I'm going to do these, and I'm going to put my glue on the end here, just like that. And those are going to be the ears. I'll show you what this looks like in a minute. So when the ears go down, they look like that. And I'll put my eyes right here of my pig. And I think this should be a little higher. So always make changes right now when something doesn't feel right. Okay, and our next step is to cover all of this with paper mache. And so we're going to just basically bring our bowl of paper mache over. And we're going to dip this. And you want to squeegee it between your fingers. And with smaller shapes this time, you want to mold, put 2 or 3 shapes down, and you can begin to mold around the whole ear. Well, it was wonderful working with you today. I know that it's a little uncomfortable working with this messy stuff, but it can be a joy to paint on when it's actually dry. So there is no better surface to paint on because you're painting on paper. And I have a passion with painting on paper. I love that. And so just to finish up and go and to review a little bit, make sure you use a little more glue with this second layer, because if the first layer is only one layer, it's very, very brittle. So you need at least 3 layers, and this isn't going to work. So this had 3 layers. It has some strength. I can't really even budge this. And you want to do the same thing. You want to add attachments, the nose, the 2 feet, and the ears. You can use egg crate if you don't have those egg shapes that usually comes out in Easter time. Those Easter eggs that the Easter Bunny leaves. And if you don't have that, you can use this. And we had a glue gun today to help us glue things down, but you can use your regular Elmer's glue. It takes a little longer to set that up, but it works just as good. So you have a gluing session, then your final paper mache. Remember not to wet the whole shape because it tends to loosen this up and it could cave in if you add great big huge gobs of it. So we're only going to work in areas of the feet, the nose, and the ears, and then that's it. We're going to let this dry overnight, and by tomorrow this should be ready to paint, and I can't wait to see what you come up with. And I'd love to have you friend, like, and subscribe. And if you subscribe, you'll get the next video which shows you how to paint these. And my email is michael.vermette@iis.bie.edu. And it was really fun working with you today. And I'm going to set this aside to dry. And there is my pig.